In 2019, NOAA announced sunsetting of the traditional NOAA paper charts. As you can see here in this document that I'll link inside this video, they kind of detail everything about the sunset of the paper chart and what it entails. But along with this announcement, they released a cool new web tool called the NOAA Custom Chart Prototype. And so today in this video, I want to go over how to use the NOAA Custom Chart Prototype because I've been using it for a while, and I think it has a little bit of a learning curve, and there's not a lot of good information out there on it. So we're going to go over how to use it, and we're going to make ourselves a nautical chart together. So let's go ahead and dive into it, huh? All right, so first off, where does NOAA charts cover? All right, so here's the Earth, pretty sweet Earth. And as you can see, most of NOAA's charts are up here in the northern hemisphere and also in the western hemisphere. But they do cover a significant amount of the world, including the Panama Canal. So you got some charts from the Panama Canal. Panama Canal, not your speed. You like to live all the way over here in Samoa. That's okay. Bought a bunch of charts out here in Samoa. Moving our way up. Love Hawaii. Got some charts in Hawaii. Oh, man, look at this. All in Pacific. Oh, that's okay. You live in the middle of Nevada, Las Vegas, Nevada. Well, that's okay. We got a chart for you here on Lake Mead. Oh, no, you live in northern Nevada in Lake Tahoe. That's okay. We got a chart for you. Nope. You live even farther up north along the Columbia River. That's okay. We got a bunch of charts here along the Columbia River for you. What I'm getting at here is that there are a lot of charts to choose from and a lot of charts to make, and you can do a whole lot with this web tool. You can make art projects like I'm going to make, and you can even make serious nautical charts. So let's go ahead and start digging into this. So first off, let's talk about this main screen here and go over the different buttons. So let's start down here in the lower left-hand corner. In the lower left corner, you can see kind of your zoom level. So you can see right now I'm at 1,000 miles. We zoom out all the way to 10,000 miles. I'm going to zoom back in. So this shows you your zoom level. And as you can see, as I start moving my cursor around, you can see this is my latitude and longitude. You can get this into different forms. You can get degree, minutes, seconds, to decimal degrees, or degrees, decimal, minutes. I'm just going to leave it like this. All right, so what else have we got here? We got up here in this upper left-hand corner, we have just your typical zoom and zoom out. We got a home button, which brings you right here to 600-mile zoom level and showing all this. We have this, which is my location. If hypothetically I had on my computer or whatever I'm using this on, the ability to GPS into where I was. If I click that, it would zoom in right where I was, or where I am, I guess. Kind of cool thing. I haven't used it yet because I haven't used anything that is GPS to where I am. And finally, we have this, which is identify and also find address. I'm going to show you identify and find address at the same time. Let's go somewhere. Let's go to New York City. All right, you see that we just flew into here to New York City. Let's go and start zooming in. I'll keep on zooming in here. See the Staten Island ferry route. Okay, cool. Here's Liberty Island, all right? So we all probably know what this is, but let's go ahead and use this identify button to find out what it is. Cool. So we are. So this identify button tells you what it is. It tells you it's a landmark, description, landmark, geometry point, usage, harbor. So it's on a harbor chart. We'll talk about that more later. Compilation of 10,000, and just goes on and on. Object's name, Statue of Liberty, just goes on and on and on. And there's more and more information from each chart that is located on in here. So that's what the identify button does. It's kind of cool and really interesting because my understanding is all of this is digital chart information. And when you make your chart, you're taking digital chart information, you're putting onto like a paper chart format. So let's go ahead and zoom back out. And as we zoom out, I want to talk about these boxes. So these red boxes represent areas that we have charts. And we'll get into them a little bit more, how they can change. But as long as there's a red box in that area, you can make a chart in that area. I've yet to run in a time where you can't. Let's also talk about these little numbers right here real fast. We'll talk about them even more later in the video, but for right now, you can see this says 40,000. That means that this chart right here is at a 1 in 40,000 scale. Or we go over to like this one right here, it's 1 in 80,000. We got one over here in the middle of Hartford, 1 in 20,000. So those are representing your scale level. As you zoom out, you can see you get different scale level. You got 1 in 120,000. So, all right. So that's everything on the main screen here. Let's go ahead and click this double arrow right here. This double arrow brings you over to these ribbon of tools. Just goes and makes them bigger. So we'll go ahead and bring it back out. And the first tool we have here is a quick start guide. I'll go ahead and open for you. I was really looking forward to this quick start guide the first time I opened it up, but as you can see, it's only 2 pages. And it doesn't really go over much. I was kind of hoping there'd be something around here with more information, but at the moment, this is what they have. It's a good quick reference, but honestly, that's kind of why I'm making this video. So let's jump over to display settings. All right, we got in display setting 2 different tabs. We got depth contour meters and miscellaneous. Let's start with depth contour meters. I guess before we start, let's go ahead and zoom into a location, okay? Where are we gonna go? Well, I've already chosen a place. We're going to Amelia Island, Florida. We're gonna zoom on in. All right, cool. So let's talk about shallow, safety, and deep. But let's talk about it in terms of an actual boat. So let's say we have a sailboat, and my sailboat has a 1 meter draft. Okay, so that means below the water, it goes down 1 full meter. But let's say I don't like sailing anywhere where it is not deeper than 3 meters. So 3 meters, I don't feel comfortable. I know I can sail there. I just don't feel comfortable. 1 meter, I would hit the ground. And finally, let's say anything 4 meters and up, I'm fine. I don't care. I'll sail there all day long. So that is where we would type in information here. So shallow, that's going to be how deep my sailboat is. Anywhere that is 1 meter, I'll hit the ground. Safety, this is kind of like my comfort level. 3 meters, I don't feel comfortable and I want to know where I am, but I'm technically safe. And I wanted to start pointing out to me because there's most likely going to start having some shallow areas. Finally, deep, 4 meters and more, I don't care. Go ahead and apply, and you'll see this just happened. So what happened here? So first off, we have now this giant white space and these different shades of blue. And you can see some white space in here and a different shades of blue. So we'll talk about this more in a little bit here, but this has to do with depth zone shades. But your white is your deep, and your different shades of blue are your safety contour information. So the closer and more blue you get, the less safe it is for you. And if we go around here, we might even see my safety contour highlighted. Well, we see 1.8, so that's kind of my shallow. Oh, there it is. There's my safety contour highlighted. 3 meters. There it is. It's all highlighted for me, letting me know, hey, you're entering into your safety zone. So that's what this means. It just helps you color your chart to something that you feel comfortable with. Let's go on over to miscellaneous now. We'll leave this like this, just especially for this area. We'll be able to see it better. All right, so now we're in miscellaneous. Let's go ahead and click on the data extent. Off, on, you're not seeing anything. So let's go ahead and zoom out real fast. Off, on. These are those red boxes I was talking about. We can do it automatic, where they'll automatically appear, or visible only. I personally like to leave them on, so that way I can see all of them, and I'll talk about it a little bit more in the future. And for this one, I like to do chart and scale, because then I can see the chart's name, and this is the digital chart name, not the paper chart name. Digital chart name and its scale. Or you can just do chart, or you can just do scale, or you can turn it off. It doesn't really affect your final product, but I like to know what I'm dealing with, so I like to leave it on. We'll zoom back into our area. Now we're on to my favorite topic, intended uses. So we got different intended uses here. We have all databases, overview, general, coastal, approach, harbor, and berthing. Okay, so what do these all mean? Well, honestly, they just have to do with scale level, and this all goes down to the International Hydrographic Organization standards. So IHO standards, they define what overview, general, coastal, approach, harbor, and berthing mean. But for our purpose, I'm just going to go over what they each really mean as we start clicking around. So first off, all data set, as you start zooming in and out, it'll just try to choose the best one for you. This is good. I found when I'm trying to export it, sometimes it chooses the one I don't want. So I normally like to actually make it choose. So we'll start with overview. Whoa, where's my chart? Well, let's go ahead and zoom out. And zoom out. And zoom out. And zoom out. And here we are. So here are the overview charts. There's one here in the Gulf of Mexico, one across the West Coast, and you have a bunch more out here. As you can see, they're very, very small scale charts. They're huge charts, and they cover big areas, and they don't give a lot of detail. But if you're trying to make a chart of the entire Gulf of Mexico, this is the chart for you. Let's go to general. Go back to Amelia Island to see how this looks now with general. All right, you can see a little better, but still, why don't I have to zoom out to start seeing something I can use? All right, here we are. All right, so offshore a little bit, starts to look good. So I'm going to zoom back out. So you can see now we have still some small scale charts, but they're looking a little better. Like I can still use them, and I would use this if I'm saying like, oh, I want to make a chart that covers from Port Royal to Georgia, so I can cover this big area, and I really care about out here in the Gulf Stream. Okay, what about coastal? All right, we're going to have to zoom in a little bit more to get to coastal. Here we are. All right, so now we start covering a little bit closer to homes. We can start seeing things forming on the inside here. We'll go up to our Amelia Island. You can see things are starting to appear. Look, now we at least have like some soundings here, and things are starting to take shape. But really, once again, this is not meant for that zoomed in. It's meant for kind of out here where we can start really seeing things, and you're out here sailing by. Now, what about approach? Ooh, nothing there. So let's go ahead and click. All right, look at that. This is what, when we first came here, it looked like. Pretty good information. If I'm about right here sailing off the coast, I'm feeling pretty good. But if I want to be in here and sail with this, I'm probably not going to use this because I don't have very many soundings past here. And the ones in here are very dispersed. All kind of knows that there's some buoys in there. So what about harbor? Whoa, look at that. Harbor, I really start getting my information in this near shore stuff. And I can start going through these rivers and estuaries and so forth and so on. Now, what about berthing? Nothing there. So I'm going to zoom out. Zoom out. Still not seeing any berthing. Oh, here we are. Looks like we have some berthing here in Louisiana. Some around here. So we zoom out. Let's see if we can find more. As you can see, there's one right there. Berthing there. Berthing here. They're a lot less common. And the reason is they have a purpose. And I'm pretty sure their purpose is not for like a general use, but really what berthing seems to be good for is if we zoom into the Mississippi River, we can see, look at this. We got a lot more information on land stuff. We have information on, oh, here we are. So we have information on what the heck is this thing. I bet you it's a conveyor belt. Yep, it's a conveyor belt. So we got information on things on shore that I might care about when it comes to coming alongside, and I might be a Mississippi River pilot. So I'll go ahead and zoom back out. Let's go back to Amelia Island. So for this chart, we're going to use harbor. All right, so we've chosen harbor for that, and we kind of go over all those uses. I'm going to go ahead and put a link down below about all the intended uses. So that way you have a better idea of what their scale is supposed to be. All right, let's start going over the rest of the tools in miscellaneous. All right, depth units. This one's pretty self-explanatory. This one's pretty self-explanatory. You got meters, you got feet, and you got fathom. Feet, fathom. I'm going to set mine to feet. Just sim. Label contours, off, on. You can see that contour is turning off and turning on. Label my safety contour on, off, on, off. Now you're wondering, it's 11. Don't forget I changed it to feet, so on, off. For this one, I'm going to leave it on. But if you're trying to clean up your chart a little bit, you can turn those off if you want a nice clean chart and you don't really care about your safety contour or your labeling your contours. But I'm going to go ahead and leave them both on. Now, what about depth zones? 4, 2, 4, 2. All right, so 2, you can see we got white and we got blue. And the difference is my safety contour. So my safety contour, anything less than my safety contour, it's going to be this blue, and anything more than my safety contour is going to be white. For this chart, I'm just going to leave it at 2 just because I personally think it looks better. And if I'm in this kind of water, it's kind of what I'm probably looking for anyways. But if I wanted 4, for example, I could go from this white to this blue to this blue being my safety, and then this stuff not being good at all for me. So we'll go back to 2 because I just think it looks better right now. All right, so let's talk about this one, paper and simplified. You can see the buoys change. Paper and simplified, this just represents something being looking like a paper or looking like an electronic chart. So I'm going to make it a paper real fast. And I'm going to bring us back to New York City, and you can see even more of a difference. So we'll go ahead and zoom in. Let's go up the East River. We have harbor chart turned on, so I have to zoom in pretty far. So here are the paper chart buoys, and here are the simplified. So you can see they look different in this area. These ones kind of look like the buoys we're just dealing with, and these ones do not. So it's just your preference. It doesn't really make a big difference. I'm going to leave it in simplified for the area that we are doing, which is Amelia Island, Florida. All right. Go back down here where I like to look. All right, cool. All right, so what about this? Symbolize boundaries and plane boundaries. All right, well, symbolize, you can tell, they're symbols, and plane is just a plain looking boundaries. Personally, I like symbolized. If you want to learn more about your symbolized boundaries, you should look in chart 1. I'll also put that down in the link in descriptions. And finally, you got your compass rose. Do you want it on? Do you want it off? For this small chart that we'll be making right now, the compass rose really won't make a big difference. I know it won't appear on it, but I always leave it on because if I can get on there, obviously I'm going to want it on there. All right, so let's jump over to print settings. So we're jumping over to print settings now. We have our custom product. You have our scale, paper size, portrait, and landscape. And then we're going to talk about these 2 buttons in a second. Don't press them, trust me. All right, let's talk about scale real fast. What should you set your scale to? Well, since we already have harbor selected, if I zoom out, I won't make more charts. But I can see that this one, if I can get it to show, is 1 in 40,000. Good rule of thumb, set it to whatever that chart is. There's probably a reason why it's set that way. All right, we'll go ahead and zoom back in. And I want to choose a letter. I don't know why, I just want to make a small chart. And I'll probably choose landscape because it's kind of cool. At this point, I'm going to click this button, which is called the Create New Extent. Now, when I first used this, I used it wrong, and I used it wrong again and again. So we're going to do it real fast correctly. You click the button. Then you go over to your chart, and you're going to click. Then stop. Don't click anything else. This is real time. I have not paused the video, and there it is. It takes a few seconds to appear. So there is our chart that we've just created. If I don't like that area, and I kind of don't, I don't want this down here. I actually care about up here and out here. Yeah, And I want to keep that rec in because that rec looks so cool. So that is what I want to be my extent of my chart. Just for fun, we're going to go ahead and I'll go ahead and change this to 1 in 100,000. All right, restarting. I have no idea where it was. So I'm going to do 1 in 100,000. So I made a scale now at 1 in 100,000. Let's go ahead and make another chart. I'll click, and I'll wait real time, a long time. All right, there it is. As you can see, as you change your scale, the size of your chart will also change. So we'll go and move that around, and you'll see the difference. All right, and we'll make one that's small. Let's do 1,000. Be a lot of fun. All right, let's go and put it up here. Real time. Still forming. Still forming. Still going. This is real time. It does take a while. I think that's it right there. All right. I'll go ahead and put it actually out in the ocean and let it form. All right, so if you remember right, chart 1 was our 40,000 scale. Chart 2 was our 100,000 scale. Oh, by the way, this is the export queue, and this is where you can rename it and you can export it. Sorry, I should have said. This was our 1,000, and this is also our 1,000. All right, so let's go ahead and start exporting. As you can see, these are going to take a while. They can take upwards of, I feel like one time I saw one take upwards of 5 to 6 minutes. And also, they don't stick around forever. Once you make them, they stay around for a good 10 to 30 minutes, and then they just sort of disappear, and you have to hit re-download again, re-export again. Now, let's say you're not happy with one of the charts you put down here. So once it's done exporting and you want to move it, you can actually just move it around right here, move it down here, and then you could hypothetically hit export again. I'm not going to because I don't feel like restarting. So we'll go ahead and come back to this when they're done. Real fast, while those are downloading, there's a feedback form. You can send in your feedback to NOAA, your opinion on the custom chart prototype. I know I've sent in a few feedbacks in, and they've responded pretty well so far. So let's go check back in on our export. Still going. So we'll check in. Oh, look at that. The 1 in 1,000 is done. 1 in 100,000 is done. Once I forgot a 0. And my 1 in 40,000 is done. So let's go ahead and open up the 1 in 1,000. I can see it doesn't really cover anything. Open our 1 in 100,000. As you can see, it almost covers too much. We even lose out on some of the chart because we didn't go to auto. It just went ahead and kept on using the harbor chart, so it just didn't put information in there. Now let's go ahead and look at the one that is probably set to the correct size. Ah, that looks a lot better. Now I want to point out a few things on here. Your sample chart appears right here, not for navigation. You have your projection. You have your date it was generated, your projection again, your scale, and down here you have all your information that would normally be on the chart. Doesn't matter what size you choose, they will always put the information on a second page. Some people like it, some people don't. I'm indifferent. I think it's kind of cool it's on a second page. I also liked having it on a page, and I would have liked to put it places. As you can see, a compass rose never got generated. However, as you can see here, a compass rose did get generated. Depending on your scale is when a compass rose will or will not get generated. Once again, 1,000 compass rose did not get generated. If I would have made a chart that is a different page size, so let's make one real fast, 22 inches, and we'll go ahead and put it in the same location. And as we talked about, it will take a while to form. While it's forming, let's look at this again. You can see units in feet, sample chart, sample chart. These are essential things. And finally, you have your lat and long of 2 corners, which lets you technically know your lat and long of everything. Let's go back and check on our chart. There it is, it's formed. And I forgot to change my scale. So let's go ahead and change my scale real fast. We'll make it again. It's important to know that when you click, it makes a chart around where you clicked. All right, there's a chart I just made, and we'll rename it 40,002. And we'll start exporting it. Just remembered, did the wrong one. Let's talk about that real fast, actually, since we're doing it anyways. We can cancel the export and delete the product using that button. So I don't like that one, I can go and delete it. I don't like this one, I can go and delete it. And let's say this one right here is taking too much of my screen up. I can once again delete it. So while this is exporting, we'll come right back to it. Okay. Real fast on this chart right here, as we are downloading our next chart, something to keep in mind if you want to download this, it's easy. You just right click and save as. It's that simple. So that one took 2 minutes and almost 30 seconds. So let's go ahead and open it up. All right, as you can see, it still probably doesn't look as well. Probably could have done a couple things different to it. First off, I probably should have made it portrait rather than landscape. As you can see, there's no information out here. There's no information out here. However, if I did make it portrait rather than landscape, I think it would have turned out pretty well. As you can see, we still have the information in here. If I was sailing, anywhere over here or over here, I probably could get a lot of good information out of this chart. And as you can see, there's the compass rose. And as you can see here, all the same information that we had previously. Okay, so that's it. This is a NOAA custom chart creator. As I said earlier, you can go ahead and send feedback to them. And for all the information I previously said, you can find it down in the link below. Let's go back to home. And thank you so much for watching.